Brothers, sisters, hope you're having a wonderful summer. My buddy texted me yesterday, his name's Trevor. I told him that, I was like, I hope you're having a wonderful summer. He texted me back. He didn't react, I'm sure he responded. He's like, it just keeps getting better and better. It's like, man, that's the vibe. That's what I'm talking about. That's what he's talking about. We're talking about. I am's talking about. It's the same I am. It's the same essential I amness. Everything is aware that it exists. Awareness is everywhere, equally present. It's a self-same awareness in you, me, and everybody, even the tree. The tree doesn't have to think, I am a tree in order to be. It simply is. It simply exists. It's not getting in its own way, you know what I mean? Anyway, today I want to talk about something that is relevant for everybody. Don't you love that? Not kind of a niche, just with the target audience, but something that is applicable for everyone. And it's the difference between religion and spirituality. Oftentimes I've observed that some people confuse the two, and it need not be. So, religion is actually born of spirituality. Spirituality is the foundation, and religion is the offspring, the child, you could say. And we really want to understand that the principles of religion can be followed by the follower of any faith. You don't have to identify as a Christian in order to practice asceticism. And we don't even have to give it a label, asceticism. That's the thing about labels and personas, is as far as religion is concerned, let's say Christ or Krishna or Buddha or Allah or whatever the label, whatever the name, whatever the persona, whatever the person, whatever the figure, whatever the image, we want to understand that they're not to be put on a pedestal. Even they themselves, all enlightened beings, have said not to worship the personhood, not to worship their personality, but to focus on the teachings. But oftentimes, people who identify with a particular religion, they do just the opposite. And I did at one point too. I'm not picking on anybody, I'm just speaking the truth. They do just the opposite, and they focus on the persona, the places they visited, the times, the dates, and all the details, and they ignore the teachings. They ignore the principles. Now, this is important because it's the teachings that are significant, because they're infused with, we could say, high vibrational essence. They calibrate at a high level of consciousness, and simple exposure to the teachings themselves can allow the person on the receiving end of that to imbibe that frequency, that essence, that energy, so that they too can benefit from it. Now, that's another thing. Now, I was writing about the origin of the word sin and what sin really means. And some people might hear the word and might be repelled by it. But again, it need not be that way. Because sin simply means to miss the mark. And what is the mark? The mark is right now, the present moment. And it's called a present moment for a reason. It's a beautiful blessing that we're all alive right now, that we're existing, that we're breathing. It's another beautiful day, the sun's shining. Jesus Christ and the sun are one and the same. I'm not going to get into that. That's pretty deep. You have to get into details of the Bible, and today I'm just free flowing. I'm not trying to pick apart the Bible. But to miss the mark, that's what sin essentially means. It's to be dwelling on the past or, obsessing about the future instead of enjoying the glory and brilliance of the radiance of the divine presence all around us, within us, in this beautiful present moment, this gift. We're here again today. We didn't have to wake up. No matter what side of the bed we woke up on, our heart's still beating. So, I tend to be an optimistic person, naturally. It's not something I try to be. And I know, that can kind of turn some people off. And that's okay. I'm not going to change who I am in order to appease other people. That's a principle, right? Going back to the principles of religion. This is important because the principles of religion, austerity, penance, celibacy, etc. It's the principles that are significant. Anybody can claim a certain religion. Anybody can say, I'm a Christian. I identify with this. But very few people actually practice the principles that the religion teaches. That the spiritual leader, the spiritual individual from which the religion was born, they said to focus on their teachings, not themselves, not their person. Again, I reiterate that because that's important. And the reason why they were so powerful, you could say, of course, they probably didn't claim to be because they were humble, but the reason why they were so high energy, operating at a high frequency, not missing the mark, enjoying the present moment, always here now, always aware of all that's around them and thus within them, because there's no distinction, there's no difference between subject and object. And once you are operating at a certain frequency, once you embody a certain level of energy, once that energy is at a certain level of intensity, you'll not just intellectually understand that, oh, everything's connected. You'll feel that. You'll sense that. You'll witness that firsthand. And that's what the spiritual teachers and spiritual leaders try to convey. They wanted you to follow the principles so that you too could elevate your frequency, elevate your vibration. You want to think in terms of energy, frequency, vibration. That can't be said enough. That it's very important and relevant for everybody because we live in a reality that's all based on vibration. Everything's ocean of motion. The trees around me right now swaying. It's beautiful. It's blissful. And you'll feel that bliss too. Once you, again, are operating at a certain level of intensity, then you'll naturally be blissful and joyous. And you won't need anything outside of you to complete you. Because you'll be able to just sit and enjoy the present moment without any stimulus, without needing to consume anything. And thus, you'll be in the mark. You won't be sinning. I said sin just to rhyme there. Sometimes I'm rhyming, I'm not even thinking about it. Automatic. And that's another thing. Automatic, you'll be in the flow state. Now, what is the flow state? It's a label to point to, again, frequency. What frequency are you vibrating at? You'll naturally be still, no matter what's going on around you. The world could be in tatters. There could be fires ablazing, extreme chaos, and you could simply sit there and be at ease and be at peace and embody that bliss without needing to consume anything. You'll naturally focus more on creating, and you won't claim that you're the doer, that you're the creator, because you're surrendered. And when you're in the flow state, everything happens autonomous, synonymous, by synchronicity, by bliss within, and that's expressed in whatever you do, whatever you manifest. And again, it's not you that manifests, it manifests through you. You're the channel. You're simply surrendered, allowing that divine power, that essence, to express through you without needing to control it, without needing to dominate it, without claiming that you know it. And you don't have to, because you are it, you be it, you live it. So you don't have to know about it. You don't really even have to talk about it. Of course you can, if you want to, if it wants to through you. But, sometimes that can be a hindrance. It doesn't have to be. Sometimes you'll simply want to sit in stillness, in the silence, in the bliss. And other times you want to be active and dynamic. And even simply sitting down, we could give it the label meditation. Simply sitting just to sit, not to accomplish anything. To simply be in the mark, to enjoy the present moment. You can be in that state of stillness, and it's still very alive, sense of aliveness. It's very active and dynamic. It's not passive. That's the difference. You want to understand the difference between laziness and easiness. You can operate from a space of calmness, bliss, and easiness, and aliveness. And it's still very intense. But it's not laziness. That's the difference. There's a distinction. We want to understand nuanced distinctions. And that's where discrimination can come into play. That's where the intellect can be of use, so we can see with clarity and discernment, and we don't get caught up in seeming confusion. You want to see clearly, and that's another thing. When you practice the principles of religion, spirituality, they're essentially one and the same. We need not make a distinction between them, but to make a point, we can say that, as I did at one point, again to reiterate, used to say I'm a Christian. I go to church every Sunday, and that can be very limiting and restricting, because conventional religion kind of keeps people in a certain paradigm or context or dimension. They're all synonyms: paradigm, context, dimension. And it can be restricting if people don't learn to see beyond that, to see with clarity, to see that, okay, I might want to be a part of this church family because there is a lot of great people, and there's a sense of community and brotherhood and fellowship. And that's great. That's wonderful. But we don't want to get caught up and think that that's the reality, because that is simply a consequence, just like society. Society and all of its facets are a consequence of existence, of life. Life is the real thing. Being it is the real thing. Embodying it is the real thing. Putting the principles to practice, that's the real thing. And we can do that simultaneous with, claiming certain faith. That's great. But if we're honest with ourselves, we got to be honest. That's the fundamental principle. If we're not honest with ourselves, how can we be honest with anybody else? Want to practice self-inquiry. Ask ourselves questions. Go within. Dig deep. Like I said in the last video, practice celibacy. That's going to force you to evolve. If you practice the principles of religion, that's going to force you to go within. and do some soul searching. And nobody's going to be able to tell you anything. You know, like that Kanye West song comes to mind, right? Can't tell me nothing. But it's not in a prideful sense, not in an arrogant sense, not a know-it-all. Can't tell me nothing. I already know it all. It's not like that. It can't tell you anything because you know yourself. Because you've went within. Because you've done that soul searching. And again, like I said in the last video, you want to understand the distinction between discovering and determining and deciding. I decide upon this because of this data that I've accumulated and that I've seen in the world, as opposed to going within and discovering what your soul's purpose is, what your mission is. We all have a mission. We all have a purpose. Everything in creation has a unique yet simultaneous purpose. We're all in this together. We're each the witness, the self-same witness, through a different set of eyes. That's the beauty of it. That's the bliss. Oh, I honestly didn't even know what I was going to say today. I just have it in me. I want to share this energy. And it's not even really so much about what's said, but it's the energy in back of what's said, right? God bless, guys. Hope all is well. See you in the next one. Peace.